Just go off, can you hear me? Okay. High school, career, college readiness, family financial stability, and affordable housing. Okay, now our partnerships are critical, hands down critical, to scaling and implementing solutions on a larger scale. Again, it takes a village, so no one group can do everything. We all have to apply and participate. So, now you see before you some of the programs and resources available. Okay. So the College Bound Youth Works and other programs, we have a 2-on-1 service and resource center support for Fulton College and Career Academy. So with that, you've heard today from our United Way team and students. We will now have the community conversation focusing on Fulton, South Fulton, and what each and every one of us can do to help improve the needle, move more positively for South Fulton. Now, I'm proof of this. A child born in a red zone, we don't have to live in a red zone forever. We do not have to live in a red zone forever. I am living proof of that, okay? It is through our collective work that we will have a better tomorrow in the South Fulton community. Agreed? Agreed. Okay, so I want to just take a moment and begin this discussion by introducing you to our panel. And better yet, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just let them take a few minutes to introduce themselves. Why don't you go ahead and just tell your name and the business that you're associated with. And we'll start from this side and just go over to the far end.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Mike Looney. I'm the superintendent of schools for Fulton County. I'm the new person on the block. My responsibility is to implement the vision of the school board, and we are very fortunate to have our board president, Linda Bryant, Kate Stewart, and Kim Dove here today, which is an indication of our school board's commitment to doing the work. And I'm going to borrow your phrase, I love it, SoFu, to make sure SoFu is doing well and prospering.
My name is Roger Bruce, and I represent the area in the State House of Representatives, and I am the sponsor of the legislation that created the city of South Fulton, and I, along with a whole lot of other people, have worked for a long time to try to do the things that these young children are talking about. As I sat there and I listened to them, I was inspired, you know, but at the same time, we got to get everybody else involved and get people to participate in the things that these young people are talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Shannon James. I feel fortunate to serve on this stage with such esteemed leaders. I represent a very new and young nonprofit called the Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance, and we are focused on really building and supporting the initiatives around regional economic competitiveness. And we do that through really a three-pronged approach, through economic development activity, workforce development, and education, which I'm excited to talk about today, because we're very focused on moving the needle, and we understand the strength of partnership and collaboration, and we hope that our message resounds today.
Good morning. I'm Carol Waddy, and I am the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility for Chick-fil-A Inc. and the Chick-fil-A Foundation. That entails strategic partnerships within the community, with nonprofits, with government entities. That's our community engagement, volunteerism, and other community outreach. And I should say that this is our hometown, right? So this is our community. The Chick-fil-A corporate headquarters is located in South Fulton. We bring about 1,500 professionals into the community every day. So we strategically and disproportionately try to invest in our hometown and community.
Great. And we appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm William Bill Edwards. mayor of the city of South Fulton County. For those of you who don't know, the city of South Fulton is Georgia's 5th largest unincorporated city. It is the 3rd largest city in Fulton County, and it incorporates some over 120,000 people in our city. So education is very important to us. I will say to the panel that, from what I've heard from the previous panel, the thing that caught me in my mind was, let's just go to work. I mean, they've said it all. So we understand in government how important education is, and we strive every day to link that with our economic development and progress.
Great, thank you all so much. Thank you for being here, we appreciate it. Now, I want to start off by a question that's based on our community, and we've heard from our youth panelists. What are your reactions based on our youths, and indicate why child well-being is important to you? Whoever would like to take the first stab at it, go for it.
Well, I can start.
Okay,
I can
thank
start.
you. Okay.
So, Chick-fil-A is a privately held, family-led, as most of you know, $10 billion corporation. We have over 2,400 restaurants nationwide and in Canada. We employ over 100,000 individuals as team members, operator owners, and so with that comes some responsibility. Our goal is really to ensure that every child grows up to be all that they were created to be. Now that's huge, right? That says a lot. Our focus has traditionally been on youth and education, but we also focus on economic mobility. And I think when looking at economic mobility, we realized that it was much bigger and much broader than just education, right? Than just youth programs. So as a result of that, how we partner and invest in the community has evolved. If you think about, for those of you that are familiar with our founder and owner, Truett Cathy, and what his focus was, obviously it was about family, it was about community, but also generosity and giving back. And so I think this really falls for our organization into a whom much is given, much is required bucket, right? It's not why should we, it's how could we not, right, give back. So that is really how we have sort of approached and focused on our community engagement, our corporate social responsibility, and how we look at supporting youth, child well-being, and really how our work aligns.
Great, great. Now let me ask you, based on that, what has been the outcome with your efforts?
Yeah. So our outcomes continue to increase. And so we believe that we've been impactful in a number of areas. And that's not just within South Fulton, but within the Atlanta community and nationally as well. So we focus, as I said, we've broadened our focus. So not only are we looking at youth and education, realizing that you have to address the whole being. And in order for the wonderful students that spoke to us today to be successful in school, they need food, right? They need to be well fed, their minds need to be nourished. They need job opportunities, and opportunities, their families need job opportunities. So one of the things we've done to increase our impact is to begin focusing on economic mobility and hunger and housing as well. So when we open a Chick-fil-A in a community, typically 100 jobs are created immediately, right? Often those jobs are for youth, right? You find many young people working in our restaurants. We offer scholarships to folks. So to date, we have, and as I look at the data for 2019, we have awarded over, or close to $15 million in scholarships this year. we have provided over $2 million in free meals this year. We are boots on the ground and typically a lot more operational than you might find in many organizations. That is because of the generosity of the Cathy family. That is because of the values-driven work that we're charged to do. So we partner and engage in a number of different ways through schools, sponsoring 3DE, being a partner with Banneker, being a partner with other schools and communities, partnering with many nonprofits, including United Way, through financial donations, as well as volunteer and operational partnerships. So I could sort of go on and on about the numbers, but the focus for us is really leading by example.
Right.
So hopefully
Well,
that
that
answers
was
your
great.
question.
And please don't go on and on, because that was a lot that you guys are doing, and we totally appreciate it. Thank you so, so much. We really appreciate it. And next person would like to answer that question.
Well, let me say this. I think the question is always, how does schools benefit government and vice versa? And being the mayor, you have to understand that if you're going to have true economic development, you got to have good schools. Two things that people look for when they move to an area. One is how safe it is, and one is what are the schools like. You can go on any website around the country and talk about the gracious homes we have and the low cost of acreage. But when you look on the right side of that website, it's going to show you the schools ranking. Most people are going to say no, because no one's going to move any place where they don't feel safe and their children can be educated. Simple as that. And catchwords and phrases don't get it. We have to be physically motivated to do what is needed in schools. I'll give you a classic example. One of the things that people looked over for years, one issue that they looked over for years in our school system is the issue of mental health. It was there. It was prominent all the time. But we choose not to look at it. And we choose not to so-called mention it. And we choose to call it some fancy name that meant what it was. But we have to deal with it. And I'm thankful that Dr. Looney understands that it's the issue. His predecessor understood that it was an issue. And we have to deal with that. The other thing is, and I'm talking about simple things that we must do to prepare people to be educated. Let's deal with reality. Some child got to school this morning and went to class that didn't eat last night. Some child went to school this morning who's been a victim of violence or have seen violence perpetuated on another member of the family. And these are factors that how can you learn? I think one of the classic examples, the young lady said where he's sitting a few minutes ago, the Hispanic young lady went to fend for herself. And she talked about how her teachers helped her. But she should have broadened that experience and should have said, how did this community help me? And so we have to deal with those factors that prepare children for coming to school. And I'll say this and I'll get off. Dr. Looney, you always said that, that our issue starts before pre-K. You said that. I believe that. There are certain things that kids should be available to do before pre-K if they're going to be successful. And I'll stop.
And I totally agree with that. And, one of our youths did say on the panel that her parents just are not involved. In many cases, the parents don't know how to be involved, right? They're just not in a position and educated to take that step to be involved with her school, to go to teachers' conferences, to talk to the teachers. They just don't know. So as our mayor just indicated, it takes a community. We all have to pour in. We all have to give. As we go to the bank and make a deposit, we have to deposit into our community. So that's exactly what the mayor is making reference to. Dr. Looney? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want to kind of share something that happened and to answer your question. I was speaking at A. Philip Randolph Elementary School. We were talking to the kids about how bills are passed and the process that happens in the General Assembly. And when I left, I got a call from one of the students. He was 10 years old. And he said, I was in the program where you were talking about how bills get passed, and now I have a bill I want you to get passed. And I said, okay, tell me about it. He said, no, come back to the school, and then I'll tell you. And so I went back to the school, and when I got there, he had the principal, he had the other students there, and the room was packed. And so I was, surprised at what was going on. And I asked him, I said, okay, well, what is this bill that you want me to get passed? And he said, I want my parents to be able to come to the school without their jobs being put at risk. And so how could I say no to that? We checked it out and found out that it was true that the place where he worked, they did not have a program that allowed for if the parents didn't come, they didn't get paid. If they didn't come enough times, they got fired. So what ended up happening, the entire school made it a project to get this bill passed. And they have a program in the morning where they closed circuit TV and the kids can, so some of them became reporters, some of them became lobbyists, some of them actually came to the Capitol. I set it up for them to meet with the governor. And they're sitting around the governor's table and they told me, we're not old enough to vote for you. But our parents that are sitting over there are, and if you don't support our bill, we're gonna tell them not to vote for you. So the kids got really involved in it, and the bill came to be known as the Parent Protection Act.
Awesome.
And the bill passed out of the House of Representatives. Unfortunately, it got over to the Senate, and the senators didn't do what they were supposed to do, but it did pass out of the House. But what has happened over the years, every piece of that bill is now law. And so I think in response to what you are asking and to what the kids are saying, when they speak and they talk, we have to listen to them and we have to act. And that's what that's what happened at the A. Philip Randolph Elementary School.
Awesome. Your last piece is vital. Not only do we have to listen, we have to act. We have to put it into motion to make things happen, to change. Thank you.
So I'm still in the listen and learn mode in my new occupation here in Fulton County. And there's so many things to say, and I will say the students were spot on today. The school board is very focused on a couple of very big themes as part of their strategic plan. So I want to hit just three big buckets right quickly, if I could. What the mayor said, in the state of Georgia, a student that enters kindergarten for the first time is required to take an assessment. And the assessment that they take measures from the state's perspective whether or not the kindergartner can actually access kindergarten standards successfully. And so the story that we need to be aware of is that in Fulton County broadly, the entire county, only 24% of entering kindergartners are prepared to access kindergarten standards. Now, disproportionately, if we disaggregated the data, the numbers look bleak in certain parts of our school community and better in others based on school and individual students. Why is that important? Well, if they're starting kindergarten behind, then we're expecting them to run a race where everybody else has a head start. Now the good news behind that is by the end of the kindergarten year in Fulton County, 86% of our students have mastered the kindergarten standards and are ready for first grade. So our kindergarten teachers and our administrators and our parents, frankly, do a really good job of helping most of those students catch up. But you see, kindergarten is so much different today than it was when I was in kindergarten. Today, you have to leave kindergarten knowing how to read and to do math. And if you can't do that, then you're very far behind. In fact, the statistics this morning about third grade are very true, but the story begins much earlier than that. There's a lot of research that says this, and I'm gonna blow your mind when I say this. If a student leaves first grade behind in reading, there's only an 11% chance that they'll ever catch up. So I would argue that third grade is too late, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to get it right by the end of first grade. So what do we do? If you think about public school buildings, they're open in the summertime. Nobody's using them for the most part. They're opening in the evenings. And I truly believe that every parent, regardless of where their zip code is, wants their child to be successful in school. And if they truly knew what the expectations were, that they would do everything in their power to make sure they were ready. So in math, as an example, there's 3 things that you have to be able to know when you enter kindergarten, just to access the kindergarten standards. Can you count to 20? Do you know your basic geometric shapes? And can you do one-to-one correspondence with objects? I use spoons and forks and knives with my children in the kitchen to help them count 1, 2, 3. If a student that's 5 years old enters kindergarten for the first time can do those 3 things in math, then they can successfully navigate kindergarten standards. But only 24% of our kids can't do that. I am not suggesting that we have pre-K programming for all students. What I am suggesting is let's figure out to give those students that are behind a head start in that pre-kindergarten summer, so that they can get caught back up. We have vacant space. There is a way to do that, and so how do we do that? I don't know. Y'all are smarter than I am, but I do know if everybody leans in, churches, civic organizations, if everybody leans in, and we clarify what students have to be able to do and know, and then we figure out how to give students access earlier, so they get a jump start on kindergarten that summer before. Then, if that 24% becomes 40%. Then the lift gets easier and we have fewer students at the end. The students here today also talked about relevance to me, work-based experiences. High school is too late for that to start. It has to start in middle school. Because most students, we lose them in the 9th grade during that transition year. We have to figure out how to build a bridge between middle school and high school, and the only way to do that, I believe, is through career technical education experiences. So what the board is contemplating right now is a 6th grade exploratory, where they take the youth science assessment that measures their aptitude and interest, and then they get experiences in a broad array of career fields, so that when they enter 7th grade, they can actually take their first CTEA course. You only have to have 3 to be career tech ready, and they can have a bridge to go to high school. And then my final comment is this, and the mayor and I have talked about this a lot, and I appreciate everybody's support on this. We lose too many students at the high school level to dropout. In fact, we lose about 1 every 6 minutes in Fulton County.
Oh my gosh.
That's a horrible number. So there's only 3 reasons kids drop out of school. I've been doing this for a long time now, and I used to interview students before they left. Here's why kids drop out of high school. They're behind in credits and they don't know how to get caught up. That's our job, we can figure that out. Or their life situation is so bad that school is not their priority, it's survival. Or 3, school just isn't relevant. They don't understand how the school work relates to what happens after school, and that's where the mentoring partnerships come in. If we tackle preschool, and we tackle middle school CTAE, and we tackle the high school dropout, this community is gonna rise and prosper in a way that most people could not imagine. And I look forward to partnering with all of you to get that work done.
That is absolutely breathtaking to me. I think it deserves an amazing applause. Those statistics just blow me away. It's something to know that we have a mission with this child well-being, but it's something different when we hear statistics like this, right? It's just amazing to me. So did I hear you say that the schools are open in the summertime?
Well, our buildings are vacant, so
can they be used?
absolutely.
Okay, so that goes back to parenting. We have to educate the parents and help them find ways to get their kids to these schools. To help these babies learn how to read and prepare and get ready for their grade. Yeah, so that's good to know that the schools are open. So now we have to take it back to the community to let the community know, because perhaps they don't know, and find a way to get these kids to school.
I just wanted to add something you said about
Sure.
the schools being open. That's not the first opportunity we had. Many years ago, I started an organization called Parent University. Linda Bryan was one of the first graduates of Parent University. And we actually used the schools on the weekend to do that. So that's not a new concept. We just got away from it.
So why don't we get back to it? What can we do to get back to that? Why did we get away from it, and what can we do to get back?
I became mayor. We need to get back, and some of the programs that I've helped over the years, I'm asking that we bring some of those back. I'm working with the school board now, Dr. Looney and those on Ms. Dove and Ms. Bryan on bringing back the concept of the TRIP program, which was a truancy program that we had many years ago, where we hired off-duty police officers to patrol our neighborhoods during school time. During that time we did that, we picked up over 1,000 students that otherwise should have been in school learning. Also, I can say that our home burglary rates went down 17% also. So those things we need to bring back.
So I'm a believer that when we're driving a car and we look through our rearview mirror, we see about this much, right? Not a big view. But if we look through our front windshield, we see a lot. So we had those programs in place that's behind us. But what can we do going forward? Without looking through the rearview mirror, they were there. But now let's look forward. What can we do? Can we re-implement them? Now that you're mayor, can you perhaps assign someone or put something in place where these programs can kick back in and be successful
We're
again?
attempting to do that now. I've
Okay.
had conversation with Brian, Ms. Dove, Mr. Looney,
Awesome.
and we're trying to bring them back. We can't bring them all back at one time.
That's okay.
But
We
we're
can
talking
crawl
about
before we
bringing-
walk.
Right, and I think one of the things as I listened today, Ms. Bryant, is that we probably need to bring Parent University back. And so those conversations are going on now.
Awesome, great.
I'd like to just quickly
Sure.
add a comment based on something that Dr. Looney said. One of the things that we realized that we needed to do from a Chick-fil-A perspective was really look differently at education, right? And so we traditionally provided scholarships to college, realizing though that college and career, that we weren't really focusing on the career side. So we have really sought out and created several successful partnerships that focused more on preparing students who may not choose to or desire or have an opportunity to attend college with career opportunities. And one quick example is we this year launched an inaugural program with the Atlanta Fire Rescue Foundation. And so we're partnering with them on a cadet training program. 30 students from across the city, many from South Fulton, South Atlanta High, some other schools, are participating in a firefighter training program year-long, several Saturdays a month, full days at a firehouse, being trained by firefighters. When they complete the program, if they choose, they can certify to participate in firefighting training certification programs, EMT certification programs, and fire inspection programs. Realizing that this could really change the trajectory of their lives with careers, as well as their families' lives potentially. And so we really had to look at our dollar investment differently, not just traditional four-year scholarships, but providing other opportunities to students while they remain in high school. So that's just an example of some of the things we're trying to do differently and draw in.
Great. Shannon, I would love to hear from you, and I'm sure everybody else would love to as well.
Hey, listen, I understand my place on stage. Such great. To your question about the students, it was eye-opening, to be quite honest. I want to thank United Way, Vanessa and the entire team for putting this together, to be quite honest, for allowing us the understand and see virtually the data that exists in our market because we talk about it. I think we all have a sense of it, but until you see it and understand what's really happening from a socioeconomic perspective, it really resonates. And so I'm glad that we're having this conversation. Number two, I think the students have said something that our organization is listening to very keenly. We have an education collective that is very focused, it's young, but it's very focused on the students and really serving as a bridge, if you will, for career pathways. Matter of fact, we're fortunate to have our co-chair, if it's working, we're fortunate to have our co-chair, Dr. Jima Whitaker. Thank you. Fortunate to have our co-chair, yeah, that sounds better. Makes me want to sing now. But we're fortunate to have our co-chair, Dr. Jima Whitaker, in the house, and also our chair of our collective is Dr. Morsees Beasley of Clayton County. So we've intentionally aligned ourselves with the school systems, and what we're hearing is that exposure. Our students need more exposure. And what I don't want us to get lost in this conversation is actually why we're here. We're here for the students. And so what I gather from hearing our students this morning is that we've got to do more. I think we all understand that, we recognize that, but how can we intentionally get our corporate partners, if we could emulate Chick-fil-A, we'd be in a better place right now. But the challenge is we don't. And how do we now intentionally take this conversation outside of this room and really have a real conversation about, are you engaged? Who are you working with? What does your schedule look like and how are you participating? Because until we do that, we'll continue to have these conversations. And last but not least, I think we really need to also think about some of the barriers that exist. That is also a root of some of these challenges. This area is challenged with connectivity. We talk about transit a lot. A lot of these parents don't have the connectivity to get to school or to get to these jobs. So how do we continue as leaders to elevate that conversation around connectivity as well as exposure to our students? And sometimes that starts at a granular level around land use. Mayor, I'm sure he will support me on, and zoning, because we're operating in an era that a lot of our land use and zoning in place is 50 or 60 years old. And the zoning and land use that was put in place in the 50s and 60s don't reflect 2019's geography. So, thank you.
Yeah, that goes back to what we've all been saying, is that we can talk about this all day, all night, all week, all month, all year. But until we apply ourselves as a community and make that deposit, we will not get a withdrawal. There will be nothing to withdraw from that deposit. And it goes back to our youths, our communities, our families. We have to deposit into them to be able to withdraw anything positive. Thank you so much. Sure.
One of the problems also is that the measure of success for I know for my generation, and probably even going forward, measure of success was that you went to college and got a 4-year degree. And if you didn't do that, and somehow you were not up to speed, we have to also change that narrative too. And I know at the state, we have developed a program with West Georgia State University, and they have kids that are in high school that actually are taking technical courses for free. And when they graduate from high school, they will have college credit already in place. And in Georgia, we passed a bill several years ago that said if you want to go to a technical school, you can go for free in Georgia. And a lot of people don't know that. And it's free, but we have to change the narrative so that people feel comfortable that they're not being labeled as insufficient because they chose to go that path.
So what are some of the ways that we can let people know about that program?
Well, programs like what we're doing here today, I send out, information, to those that are in my district. One of my colleagues is over there, and I'm sure he does the same thing as well. Representative Jackson over there. But the reality is that everybody in this room knows 10 people. Tell those 10 people, have those 10 people tell 10 people, and we can get the message out. If you want to get a technical education, you can get it, and you don't have to pay for it.
Well, that's awesome. So perhaps the 10 people that are just hearing this for the first time can do exactly as suggested. Tell 10 people and pass the word out into the community, because I didn't know anything about it. So I'm one of the 10 people, so I will do my job and apply that information out in the community as well. So thank you for that. A question for Carol Waddy and Shannon James. How has your company benefited from aligning its business model with the United Way of Greater Atlanta?
Yes. Well, we've been working with, well, listen guys, we're 5 years old, so we're very still young, very much so. But over the past, I would say at least 3 years now that we've been partnering with United Way, I think we've had a unique ability to really understand what's really happening in our communities. I'm first to say that our organization, when we were exceptionally started, we were very focused on the commercial aspect of the region. Jobs, how do we attract and promote our area to bring the commerce that's needed to support the area and the region. Well, what the United Way has done for us to really step back and examine the communities that exist within our region and understand some of the barriers that exist and the data to support it, and how do we utilize data to start driving some of our initiatives. I will share that as a result of our partnership, it has allowed us to understand that we need to think more thoroughly than just business as an organization, but also from a philanthropic perspective. And as a result, we were fortunate enough to create a foundation. So we've created the Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance Foundation, and you're fortunate to see your chair of the foundation on the board, on the stage now. And so it's just allowing us to become more tangible with our region versus just operating at a high level, and really digging deep around equity and inclusionary practices that are barriers that we need to be discussing, and how do we create solutions to counter.
Thank you.
I'll say that I think there is a natural alignment, if you will, with the goals of United Way and their work, and the focus and goals of Chick-fil-A and Chick-fil-A Foundation, given the focus on youth, right? We have partnered with United Way in a number of ways, from a sponsorship standpoint to an ongoing partnership that's allowed us as a corporate entity to really connect with the community. United Way has served as a primary partner for us from a corporate volunteerism standpoint. We've partnered with Keisha Stanley and her team to help us build our volunteerism function and organization within Chick-fil-A. So not only have we utilized the data, but we've also utilized the expertise and human resources of United Way to help us elevate and engage our corporate staff in the community to help serve youth and to help serve other organizations.
Great, thank you, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now, for Shannon and Carol, how do you encourage your clients or customer base to buy into your CSR?